Hi, my name is Jamie Snyder, and I would like to discuss the Explain Everything app. So usually in the classroom, we just use a whiteboard with a dry erase markers. It's pretty easy. We could push it around the room. It's convenient, but there are some downsides. First, the students can't really reference it later unless they come back to the room or they take a picture before leaving. And also, some of the students are pretty quiet. They won't all raise their hand to speak up. They're not all very comfortable having to project their voice across the room, especially when we're all masked. And sometimes just the more outgoing students talk more. So if we were to use the Explain Everything app, then maybe that would help with that. Some of the students that don't share publicly could share from the safety of their own seat. And also some of the students at our school are super artistic. So then there would be some more creative options using this app that I'll show momentarily. So as far as the standards go, 1.1.c, this app would allow the students to demonstrate their learning collectively and in several ways, utilizing the technology to seek feedback from their peers as well as their teachers. And for education leaders, 3.1.b, this app would help the students have both the connectivity and technology needed to have engaging learning. So it's pretty accessible. There are apps on both of the major operating systems, and there's also a web link. So we would probably use the web link with the students' Chromebooks. There's a free version and the pay version. Obviously, we're going to focus on the free one. Here's the link with the sign-in page. Here's the home page. Here are some options. You can decide whether or not you want to use the microphone. I would assume that would be okay for remote, but not in the classroom. Here's an example of a pre-loaded Venn diagram. We might have liked that last semester when we were comparing and contrasting a bunch of short stories. And here are some different sharing options. We could just throw that link on the students' Google Classroom, and then they could click on it from their desk, or we could just tell them to put in the code, whatever. Here are the references, the Explain Everything link, and the two links for the standards. Now let's take a look at Explain Everything. So I'm going to click on my drive, and let's pretend we're starting a new project. Here are some of the templates that are already in there. We can just use one of those if it works for us. I want to just use a plain old whiteboard. Alright, so before we get started with The Great Gatsby, I will probably want to talk to the students about what they already know about that time period. So here I could have the 1920s, and then students can put in their own boxes for whatever they want to talk about. Let's say maybe a student, let's try that again. Let's say maybe a student says, oh, in the 1920s there was a lot of new money. People were very excited. Maybe they remember about the Prohibition. They could write all sorts of different things, or they could also draw their answers. Maybe somebody wants to talk about a flapper. They can type that in. Obviously, using a touchscreen would be a lot easier to write flapper with that option, but that would work for them. And then they can reference it later when they get onto the next steps of the projects. Thank you so much.